Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. And we're happy, always so happy to have you join us. It's a privilege for us. And we like to thank you for making this program such a success. And of course, we want to say hello to our dear friends. And if you want to just let me say hello to you. We'll just put your names up as they come up and we'll say hello. And, again, I always miss a few folks and I don't mean to, but somehow it happens. Okay, so who's number one here this morning? Barbara from Kansas. You're number one on the hit parade. And let's see here. A couple more coming up. I think kind of a little bit slow this morning. Marilyn, Edmonton, good morning. Nice to have you on. And my scroll is slow. Okay. And let's see now. Anyone else coming up here? I don't know. I got no scroll here moving this morning. And, okay, let me maybe try and start this over again. Let me see. A few folks coming on. Let me just see here. Can, Brahim, there you are. Okay, so is everybody getting their notices or what's happening here? Okay, seem to be a little bit slow this morning. Bon matin, you get. And Janice.
No notice.
Yeah, no notices were going out, I've been told. So now we got a few people on with us, so. Okay? I always wait to see if I see Kevin. Then I know. Jody, how are you? Okay? And a few other folks here on with us, okay? So maybe got notice just seeing us, okay? And Natalie, Teresa, Fran, and Fran sent no notification. Okay, so had to refresh the page. Some of them are saying, okay. Rose, how are you? Nice to have you on. Diane, Nicole, how are you? And Evelyn, good morning. Joanne, Kevin is on, she says. Okay. Karen, how are you? David, Jensen Beach, Florida, good morning. And I'm waiting, I'm delaying, guys, just because my scroll is slow as molasses this morning. So I don't know if I'm on, the last couple of days I've come on this a little differently and I'm wondering if that's having effect. Okay, Menden, how are you? Okay. And guys, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me properly and see me properly. That's the main thing. So I won't start all over again this morning. Okay. There we go. Okay. You hear me and see me. It's probably a Facebook issue, but we'll try and find out after the program what's going on. Okay. Okay. Denise says we can hear you. And Jeanette says we can hear you from our staff. Sandy, I'm not on anything but Facebook, Jocelyn, but no notifications, okay? Okay, so we try to see if we can figure that out after the program. Jimmy, Bonita Springs, Florida, good morning. And guys, thanks for coming on. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about saying hello, guys. We're just hoping that everything will be good. And we apologize for any technical difficulties that you might have had. And believe me, I think I did everything right. I think. And You know, sometimes we just don't know, and sometimes it's Facebook that seems to be having some technical issues. Okay, so let me. What I want to talk about is a very interesting study that I read yesterday, coming out of the Journal of Cell Biology. And the article or the study is on vitamin D. Hello? Yeah, vitamin D. Okay? And it says here, okay, let me read this to you. Let me read the headline of the study in the Journal of Cell Biology. Okay, here's what it says. Vitamin D holds the key to aggressive breast cancer, both in prevention and treatment. Now, I want to read that to you again so that you almost want to get off the floor after you fall down. Okay? In the Journal of Cell Biology, a major study says vitamin D holds the key to aggressive breast cancer in both prevention and treatment. Ho! Guys! Now, I don't know how many times we got to talk about vitamin D, but this is worth looking into and what this study says, okay? Now, in the study, they say, it's just as an abstract, the part of the study, it says, 40,000 deaths a year in USA alone in young women. 40,000 deaths a year due to aggressive breast cancer, okay? 250,000 new cases a year. Now, I'm not just talking about breast cancer. What this study is looking at is aggressive breast cancer, okay? Now, current treatment includes surgery, chemo, radiation, and immunotherapy. Okay, immune therapy. And let me go into some detail here. Okay? Now, there's a gene. Okay? It's called BRCA. BRCA gene. If you have that, it makes one more susceptible to aggressive breast cancer. You remember Angelina Jolie? You remember that story? Where she found out she had this gene, BRCA1 gene, and she decided to have her breast removed. Oh, hey, this is 10 years ago, I think, around there. And, you know, I was doing radio shows at that time, and I pleaded, you know, as if she was going to listen to me. You know, but I was pleading with her or other women that that's not prevention. Okay, it's not prevention. I have nothing but respect for women's choices. They do what they think is right. But in my opinion, she was getting bad advice. Because, you know, if you think that breast cancer is going to be limited, even if you take your breast tissue off, I'm sorry. Even people with this so-called weakness, the BRCA gene 1, guys, that's not prevention. Because anything I've ever read about any aggressive cancer when it comes to women, you know, if you don't have your breast tissue, it'll find another place in women's anatomy, including ovarian, which is very aggressive, and uterine cancer, cervical cancer. These kind of things are hormonal driven, not by the gene, okay? And guys, I've said this to you a million times, and let me just say it 1,000,001 times. We all have a weak link in our chains, okay? All of us. I always tell you about me, diabetes, a weak link in my chain. And, for some of you, it might be heart disease. For others, cancer. Breast cancer's in my family. Okay. And that makes you maybe slightly more susceptible to it. Okay. But the reality of this is that it's a small percent. Like genetics and are involved in about less than 5% of diseases. But it was always a big thing, and I always blamed the pharmaceutical industry because they wanted to, their complete emphasis for so many years, and even today, is still on genetics. And I like to talk about epigenetics. How can you override your weaknesses? To me, that's the key. How do I put my body in the best position possible to avoid these diseases? My friend, that's true prevention. And I've been preaching that since the cows came home. You look at the flowers, or do you look at the soil? I'm a soil person, okay? I want to know what the soil is like. I want to know what your body is like, and how to turn your body into a mean, lean fighting machine. Okay? And to me, we should be talking, generally in the world about that. But today, I can tell you something about this study. Vitamin D holds the key to aggressive breast cancer, both in prevention and treatment. I can tell you it'll be on the back pages of the mainstream media, meaning that good luck. There's a war on vitamin D. And the reason is they just don't like what they see. It doesn't fit the narrative. I always talk about narratives. You have a narrative and don't go off script. And, today, there's if prevention is having a mastectomy, I don't know, guys. To me, I don't understand that. And even this study is saying it. And listen to what it says, okay? And then we'll just unpack this even a little bit more. Okay? The BRCA gene makes one more susceptible to aggressive breast cancer, okay? According to this study. Research is showing on this research that vitamin D, if optimized, okay, and here's what they said. If it's optimized to 50 to 70 ng/ml, that's in the United States measurement, okay? In the United States, they measure vitamin D, okay, differently than they do in Canada, okay? It's just different numbers, but I'll give you the equation, okay? So in the United States, they want it, okay, this study said, if you can optimize your vitamin D, okay, optimize it. Not normal, okay, vitamin D normal. The low end is for mice, not for you, okay? It's like B12. I've always said to people, I know the B12 test is 100 years old, and if you have normal B12, that's for mice. You want to optimize it. That's when your body functions better. It's the same thing with vitamin D. You know, the research is, there's a lot of research on vitamin D. Okay? There's a lot of research on vitamin D. Wait till my new book comes out, Sun, Steak, and Steel. I talked to you about the newest research on vitamin D. But it says here, okay, this study in the Journal of Cell Biology says this. If you can optimize your vitamin D levels, okay, to between 50 and 70 ng/ml in the United States, okay, that's how they measure. In Canada, just to get the numbers, if someone between 50 and 70, you multiply by 2.5 times. So 50 to 70, 150, 150 to 175, 170 MNOL-L. That's how they measure it in Canada. Okay, so it's 2.5 times the number in the United States. So when you look at your vitamin D, if you're an American, look for numbers between 50 and 70. In Canada, look for numbers between 150 and 170. Okay, got that? According to that study, it's optimized. Now, can I give you my personal opinion? I like it a little bit higher than that. Okay? I like it a little bit higher than that. In the United States, over 60 for sure. Cancer, closer to 100. That's my personal clinical experience. You know, there's research. Okay? There's research, and then there's clinical research. Okay? There's research, and then there's clinical research. And, because I'm not a researcher in a university setting. Oh, by the way, one of our students, one of our friends, one of our participants in the reset, Jay, she got her master's degree and defended her thesis yesterday. Okay? Isn't that great? And you guys participated in that. Those ones that she took in the survey and did her master's degree. And I listened to it yesterday. Fantastic. Okay? I was on her committee, so but that's a university setting. Okay? Is it good? For sure. The Journal of Cell Biology. Good. Wonderful. Dr. Martin's Clinic. hundreds of thousands of patients. Is that worth something? I think it is. And for me, when it came to dealing with cancer, their research is saying between 50 or 70, 150 to 170 in Canada. And I like it a little bit higher than that. But for the sake of this study, this is what they said. If you have optimized vitamin D, here's what it does, okay? So this is what they said. If you have optimized vitamin D, it's, okay, going to give you some technical terms a little bit. It's a blueprint to cellular replication and elimination of mutations. You know what mutations are? Okay? Where cells are renegade. Cancer cells, my friend, are renegades. Cancer cells, they march to the beat of a different drummer. They're not like your ordinary cells. They're mutants. You remember the movie Mutiny on the Bounty? Well, they mutate. And they're seditious. They go against the body and they're looking for fuel. Remember that. Cancer cells have a much different antenna to ordinary cells. Your good cells, they have an antenna to vitamin D going, I need vitamin D. I was looking yesterday at an electric car, okay? It was well over $100,000. I think it was a BMW. And I guess they want everybody to drive an electric car. Who the heck can afford that? But anyway, but it runs on batteries. But your body runs on batteries. Okay? Your body runs on batteries. Your cells have receptors. And of course, inside your cells, you have mitochondria, the battery packs. You better charge them. But cancer cells are different because they look for sugar. Okay? And if you don't believe that, well, then just go get a PET scan. And that's for cancer imaging. And you need to take sugar. Otherwise, the scan doesn't even work. Because if you have cancer in your body and you're going to get a PET scan, they give you a drink of glucose or they IV glucose into your body and you'll light up. Wherever there is cancer, you'll light up like a Christmas tree. Because cells are looking, they're mutants. They're not normal cells. But this study is saying, when your vitamin D levels are optimized, it's saying it eliminates these mutations. It eliminates these mutations. Guys, that ought to be on the front page of I guess people don't read newspapers anymore. At least not many. But it ought to be big news. True or false? True or false? Yeah, it should be big news. Did you guys hear about this study? Here. But you know what I mean? It's not going to make major headlines. And vitamin D, most doctors will go, well, you got to be careful with vitamin D. Terribly. important. And you don't want to take too much vitamin D. You're going to die on the spot. You know, I mean, that's what they think. It's craziness. It's craziness. It says here, elimination of mutations. Holy moly. That ought to be the biggest discovery since sliced bread. Where are we at today in our world? This stuff will be buried. Okay. I mean, what's the takeaway, my friend? Get your vitamin D levels up. And you know what? Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that when you get blood work done, you almost have to bring your doctor to the dentist to have their teeth drilled without anesthetic in order for them to do vitamin D testing? I tell you, my friend, it's craziness. It ought to be the first test that they want to do. Let's check your vitamin D. You know why? Because 80-90% of the population is low in vitamin D. Forget optimize. They got enough vitamin D in their body, mice would barely survive. But nobody's telling them about the importance of getting vitamin D. The only thing doctors are trained on in school, okay, I'm just talking about 99.9% of doctors. Here's their training on vitamin D. Oh yeah, you need vitamin D for your bones. Okay? And, you know, the odd one might tell you to take a little bit of cod liver oil or whatever. But they you know, we eliminated rickets. So do you really need vitamin D? They don't even check it. Who cares? You know? Who cares? Friend, if you have to pay to get vitamin D done, in Canada you'll probably have to pay. Get it done. Once or twice a year. You know, I know it's no fun because you have to take money out of your genes to pay. But I'm telling you, when you read the studies and you look at this study alone, ought to get everybody and their dog getting vitamin D levels checked. And you know, hello. And you know, I blame a lot of this stuff too on just, again, the narrative. Okay? The narrative. People just spraying the living life out of themselves with sunscreen. You know, like you can hardly be, even if it's outdoors, you know, you're coughing to death. They use so much sunscreen. Oh yeah, but I don't want to get sunburned. Why don't you want to get a sunburn? Neither do I. I don't want a sunburn either. But when you spray, you're not getting any vitamin D. Yeah, but doc, what about skin cancer? I know. Don't burn in the sun. And number 2, melanoma, which is an aggressive skin cancer, it has nothing to do with the sun. Well, let me rephrase that. Yes, it does. When you don't get sun, you got melanoma. That's a fact, folks. Again, it's not the narrative, but it doesn't matter. It's still the fact. People that get melanoma are people that don't get in the sun. It's 90%. If you don't get in the sun, you better take vitamin D. What can I tell you? Like people, doc, you don't need vitamin D. Yes, you do. Okay? And yeah, if you can get it from the sun, even better. I agree with that. But live in Northern Ontario. Live in Canada. When are you going to see the sun in the winter? From your, from your window. When it's out there. You don't get vitamin D from your window. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a sunny day, Doc. Well, yeah, that's good for you. I agree. But unless you're butt naked, no, your arms and your solar panels are up here and your legs. Okay? Now, sun is good for you. Okay? Anyway, research showing vitamin D optimized is in aggressive breast cancer for both prevention and treatment. Prevention and treatment. Isn't that something that you get both? Both prevention and treatment. According to the study, if you have optimized vitamin D. And how do you know what your vitamin D levels are? I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you some other way. You got to find out by getting blood work done. I wish it was easier than that. Okay? Now you can, I know there's some labs in the USA, I don't know about in Canada, where you can actually just do a little fingerprint or whatever and send your blood in. Okay? And get your vitamin D levels done. But, physicians, I love them dearly, but oh my word, I could shake them. I could shake them. Read. Read the Journal of Cell Biology. It ought to shake your boots. Okay. 40,000 deaths. This is the United States alone. Of aggressive breast cancer in young women. I mean, these are terrible. Folks, listen. Every death is a tragedy, isn't it? It is. Okay? It's a tragedy. And, I got an honorary degree in obituariology. Okay? Because I look at obituaries. I'm fascinated by them. Okay? First of all, when I get up, I make sure that I'm not in there. Okay? And then, I'm interested. I've always been a people person. And, I always remember patients. And, I look to see if I know anybody, And, but I'm also looking, too, as to where they want money donated. And boy, oh boy. You talk about, I'm giving, they're asking for money sent to the Cancer Society, okay? And, then you pretty well know they died of cancer. And when you see young people dying of cancer, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And I'm not saying vitamin D is everything, okay? But it's certainly important, and everybody and their dog should know about it. It bothers me that that's being hidden from the general population. People should know that. If you went door to door in your hometown and did a survey and you asked them about vitamin D, 99% of the people would have no idea that vitamin D is a prevention and treatment, according to research, of cancer. I can barely say it without being canceled. Okay. Now, what else should you do? Okay? What else should you do? So at the top of the food chain, the pyramid for cancer prevention and treatment. Okay, let's put them two together. What do we do? You know, and this is just stuff that I talk about every day. Number one, get your vitamin D levels up. And they're not necessarily in this order. All of what I'm going to say is important. Okay? Let's turn to food. Let's turn to food. What do? Eliminate sugar. Negative. Eliminate sugar. Positive. What do I eat, Doc? To prevent cancer. What do I eat, Doc, if I have cancer? What do I eat? Eggs. Cancer hates eggs. Meat. Cancer hates red meat, especially. Hates it. Cancer can't survive. Those mutations, those renegades, those teenage looking for sugar cells, when you eat steak, those cells go, those cancer cells go, why are you starving me? And they don't eat steak. And they don't eat eggs either. And they don't eat cheese. They just don't. They survive and thrive on glucose. So you have to be negative at this, you know, in terms of food. What? Negative. No sugar. Zero. Nada. Okay, let me separate this. If you are preventing cancer, okay, preventing it, then limit your fruit, but you can have fruit. Limit it. Berries, I like berries. Okay, I like berries. So if you're preventing cancer, you can have berries. How's that? God's candies. Don't live on them. You're not meant to live on plants or from the plant kingdom. You're just not. Okay? But I'm not saying you can't have any. Now, what if you got the diagnosis of cancer? Now you got to be extra careful. Okay? And I'm not saying, okay, I'm not, that cancer cells like berries. They don't. Okay? But you don't want to give them any fructose or any sugar. To me, you just got to be if you got cancer already. Okay? So there's the prevention and treatment. Okay? Here's another thing. And by food, what you're doing is you're eliminating a growth hormone called insulin. Cancer needs fuel. You want to lower that insulin. Okay? You want to lower that insulin because insulin is a storage hormone. It's a growth hormone. Things grow. Okay? Things grow. So you don't want that. You want to get it down. Okay? So that's food, guys. So vitamin D, food, negative, get rid of sugar, positive, eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? And breast cancer. Almost every cancer. So let's just say it. Get estrogen down. Number 3, another hormone. Get estrogen down. Very important. Estrogen is a growth hormone. It makes a woman and makes a man a woman too. That's what estrogen does. So men, listen. Listen, Linda, men. When I talk about breast cancer, right beside it for men is prostate cancer. Why? They're the same type of cancers. They're driven by hormones. Okay? They're driven by hormones. Estrogen and insulin. They're driven by it. So you want to get your estrogen down. I don't have those photographs with me, but I've shown you guys in the past. Estrogen coming off the body by blocking it. Okay? Why do you think I love DIM? Okay? Why do you think I love it? Because it blocks estrogen. Why do you think I love flax seeds? Because it blocks estrogen, extra estrogen. You're never going to block all your estrogen. Okay, you won't. You can't. You can't. We live in a world that everything looks like estrogen to your body. They're called xenoestrogens. From chemicals to plastics to fertilizers to pesticides to whatever. Good luck, my friend, on this planet. They're everywhere. You got to block estrogen. Get it down. Because it's a growth hormone. It makes things grow. Okay? We talked about even fat cells yesterday. Okay? They give off estrogen. So try and get that down. You do that by food. Block your estrogen. Dim it out. Flax seeds. I like flax seeds because of lignans. Fourthly, lower cortisol. What's cortisol? That's cortisol. Okay? If I scare you, okay, that's all right. If it only lasts for a few seconds, hey, cortisol can save your life. You need it. Problem is, if cortisol don't get turned off, it adds gasoline to growth. I'll tell you, folks, I've written so many books in my lifetime, and I don't think I can even remember a book that I don't talk about stress and the cortisol hormone. It's another hormone, and it'll save your life if someone's chasing you. But it can be deadly if you don't turn it off, because it makes things, it pours gasoline on the fire. Makes things grow, grow, grow. Like wildfire. Get that cortisol down. Okay. Those are 4 things. Now we can talk about more, and we will. But I just thought I had to bring you that study today. Okay? Okay. Some people were asking me, what about DIM? Well, look, at our hormonal formula, I'm rejigging it. Okay? I'm making it even better. And I was having trouble getting the DIM that I wanted. So I rejigged it. And coming to a theater near you soon. Will be ready. Okay? Because a lot of people ask me about that. Guys, have I told you lately that I love you? Okay? Now, I'm going to try and check in to see what's going on with Facebook. A lot of you didn't get notifications this morning. we'll try and fix that to get our technical difficulties out of the way. Now, you know I can't fix it because I don't know anything about technical stuff. But I'm going to see if we can't get this right. Okay, I love you guys. Talk to you soon.